Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Movie Debates. In case this is your first time watching one of these, essentially this is a series on the channel where I have a friend on and we get into some kind of nerdy movie-related debate. And today I'm joined by my girlfriend Liz to partake in an absolutely classic debate that always seems to rear its ugly head around this time of year. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie? I mean, I know as a film nerd who also loves the movie Die Hard, I get sucked into this debate at least one time per year, if not more than once. But we have graciously decided to come together today to finally put an end to this debate once and for all. So I'm going to kick it to my girlfriend Liz, and she'll give you kind of an opening statement about why she believes Die Hard isn't a Christmas movie.
Hi everyone, it's me, Liz. So I'm gonna start right off by saying I don't think Die Hard is a Christmas movie, which is, a controversial opinion, especially in this household. But here's at least my first reason why. If you took that movie, which we rewatched last night, so I am very up to speed on the plot and the characters and the dialogue. If you made minimal changes, that movie could take place any time of year, and it would still be effectively the same movie. The fact that it has some Christmas theming for, spice is cool and fine, but this does not a Christmas movie make.
Yeah, so that's definitely one of the most popular kind of points that contrarians have to kind of disprove Die Hard being a Christmas movie. But where I would push back against that is that I think the essence of Christmas is very integral to the plot of the film. And so before I kind of get into that, I'll kind of just give a brief overview of what I kind of view the Christmas season to kind of represent, kind of thematically, if you will. And to me, the Christmas season is about spending time with your loved ones, whether that's your family, your chosen family, your friends. And I think it's also a time for reflection. That's why we kind of get New Year's resolutions. It's a time to really kind of look inward on how to better yourself so that, you can be a better husband, father, friend to those around you. I also think it's a season of giving, being gracious, grateful. And those things are so integral to the film. I think they define the holiday season and Die Hard as a movie thematically. Because this entire film is John McClane's struggle to just get back to his family. And I would say even before the awesome action of the second act and third act, that is largely his goal in the first act. As soon as he gets off that plane, he's lugging the giant teddy bear, which is a classic Christmas gift, I may add, for his children. And even in the building, as he's fighting these terrorists, he always has his wife front of mind and getting back to her. And to me, the most touching moment of the whole film is, after John runs across the glass, his feet are all bloody. He doesn't really think he's going to be able to make it out of there. Han's got the detonators back. And he's talking to Powell on, the little walkie-talkie. And he says, Holly has heard me say I love you thousands of times, but she's never heard me say I'm sorry. And to me, that is the reflection. And he finally understood that his stubborn ways was what pushed his wife away in the first place. And to me, that is such a classic Christmas story. Think of A Christmas Carol, It's a Wonderful Life, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. There's a clear trope in Christmas movies because of the Christmas spirit and kind of the, thematic core of that season, of someone kind of reforming themselves, looking at themselves, bettering themselves, so that they can be a better, person for the people in their lives. And I think that is really John's entire arc. So to me, that is just inherently Christmas, but also within the narrative itself, it couldn't have been any other holiday because he's been by himself in New York for 6 months, which, depending on if you're going to count December as one of those months, that's Father's Day, 4th of July, Halloween, Thanksgiving, all of these major holidays or events, if you will, didn't get him to go to LA. And I think inherently it had to be the Christmas season. It was that yearning to be with the people he loves. So to me, I just don't agree with that point whatsoever.
I mean, the holiday choice was very much a writer's room decision. So he could have gone in Thanksgiving if they really wanted him to. But to your point about the movie being about, or at least a key theme being about like reconnecting with his family, it really came across more as reconnecting with his wife. Like, I know you said he has the teddy bear, but that, if I'm remembering properly, is like the only time we see John McClane be aware of the existence of his children. They're not really like, Holly brings them up, but Dad doesn't. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with a movie about reconnecting with, you know, your wife or your spouse or what have you. But like, if we're going to make the point about family, then it needs to actually be about the family. And they do have children who are set pieces.
So I would disagree a little bit about them just being set pieces because, you know, it's a terrorist situation. His wife is in the building and is in imminent danger, whereas his children are safe at home.
Sure.
So, like, yeah, of course he's going to be talking about his wife more because, like, she's there. And then also, I mean, their kids are, like, very young. So when he gives that whole speech about, you know, she's never heard me say sorry, I think in the back of his head, he knows his kids are kind of too young to, like, really understand what happened to him if he were to die. And then also, another one of the more emotional moments of the film was when the news crew went to their house and they're like, oh, like, do you have a message for your mom and dad? And they're like, come home. Like, that is actually like a really emotional moment for me. But then also it's very important to the plot itself because that's how Hans realizes, like, oh, Holly Gennaro's really Holly McClane. And then he like flips the picture up. But yeah, I wouldn't really say they're set pieces. I mean, inherently they're not in the plaza, so therefore they're not
Right.
they're not like main or even side characters in that sense. Also, like, his wife is his family, so I think just because the kids aren't as integral to the film doesn't mean that it isn't still about his family, because we end the film on him finally reconnecting with his wife and they, you know, go home to their kids.
I think if they really wanted to drive the kids part home, they should have shown him reuniting with the kids at the end. Also, if it was me, and it wasn't, but if it was, and I found out, you know, after the fact that my dad like blew himself up in a terrorist-related incident at Nakatomi Plaza, and he didn't even say any, like, didn't tell the cops to tell me anything, I'd be kind of mad about it. Like, sure, say bye to mom, that's all fine and good, but like, hello?
Okay, but if you were 4 years old, would you even know what a terrorist is?
Yeah, but what if when I'm 10 and my mom's telling me about it? And I'm like, oh, well, did dad have anything to say to me? And she said, no.
Yeah, I guess that would be more of a point to argue that John McClane maybe isn't the best father in the world, which, yeah, some of the sequels kind of solidify that point,
Oh, yeah.
I would say.
Oh, for sure.
And less so a point to say that, like, it's not a Christmas movie. Because then also, kind of bridging off a bit, the visuals are, like, obviously very tied to Christmas. So even just, like, the kind of elements of the film itself, where, like, Christmas is built into the score of the movie pretty prominently. Obviously, you see Christmas trees. He uses Christmas duct tape to tape the pistol to his back at the end. And then there's multiple times, I think like 3 or 4 times, where, you know, a character will just kind of be humming or singing a Christmas song to themselves. And I think those are very intentional things, because if the Christmas season and it being Christmas wasn't important to the film, then obviously as like a director or scriptwriter, you just wouldn't have that. Which is actually why I think Die Hard 2 isn't a Christmas movie, even though it takes place at Christmas, because the writers and director, they're kind of doing everything they can to like keep that in your mind, like that this is the Christmas season. To kind of go on the directing side of things, a really cool thing that I noticed this last time that when we were watching it last night, because the post-credit song is Let It Snow. But in those kind of final shots, there's like paper falling almost to like mimic snow, because like the explosion in the building. And I think that's like a really cool visual element as well that kind of leads into that post-credit song.
Sure, they definitely shoehorn Christmas into this movie. I can agree with you there. You invited your girlfriend who loves to argue onto your YouTube channel. What did you think was going to happen? I feel like they have to keep showing you Christmas to like remind you that it's like a Christmas movie. And it's very convenient. Again, not writer's room decisions, but like if you took all of that out, it would still work as a movie. Like I think this movie doesn't even have to be holiday related. If I was in charge, which I'm not, but if I was, I think I would just have this be a movie about John McClane coming to his senses and coming to celebrate the fact that his wife's job is going really well, which they even say in the movie at the beginning. They're like, oh yeah, it's a Christmas party, but it's like a double celebration because like we and Holly just sealed like a massive deal. So it could just be about the massive deal and having like a celebration about that. And oh no, terrorists. And then the plot proceeds more or less the same. He just uses like regular duct tape at the end to tape the machine gun to his back. And I think it's effectively the same movie.
Well, it would be a movie if all those creative decisions were made and you strip the Christmas out of it. In my opinion, it'd be a far inferior movie, at least thematically and narratively. But also, that point doesn't really hold too much weight to me because, like, you could make the same argument for other Christmas movies. Like, if the three ghosts from A Christmas Carol visited Ebenezer Scrooge during October, it could be a Halloween carol, or it could just be a carol if it took place during the summer. So to me, that's kind of like saying, well, if you make it not a Christmas movie, then it isn't a Christmas movie. So therefore, it's not a Christmas movie, which to me is like, well, yeah, if you inherently make all of these like creative changes to the film, then it stops like being something else, you know? Which I guess to kind of branch off a little bit from that, I think there's kind of like, in this debate, there's kind of two sides where some people think that a movie can be multiple things. And I find myself kind of on that side more so where, you know, I think Die Hard is a action film and a Christmas film. And, you know, like, I would kind of compare it to like, you know, is Shaun of the Dead not a comedy because there's zombies in it? Like, no, it's a horror film and comedy. It's a horror comedy. You know, is Crazy Stupid Love not a romance film because there's jokes and comedic elements? Like, no, it's a rom-com. You know, like the entire genre of rom-com is from merging two things together. You know, so I think inherently kind of viewing it on like a monolith of like, oh, because there's guns, blood, and explosions, which granted are typically not in Christmas movies, therefore it can't be a Christmas movie. I just don't really find myself aligning with that because I feel like it kind of like fights against how we have defined film for like the kind of entire history of the medium. You know, movies can be two different things or multiple genres.
Sure. But what I think also defines a Christmas movie, which brings me to my second point, thank you for that setup, is the fact that a Christmas movie or any holiday movie really makes me feel good. Die Hard does not make me feel good, which I think we talked about. Like, don't get me wrong, I think it's a good movie. That said, that's not a movie I walk away from being like, wow, I feel like replenished emotionally with like the human spirit and, you know, the joy of the holidays. I walk away from Die Hard being like, wow, that guy kicked butt, which is fine. And it was like Christmas themed, which is cool. Don't get me wrong. I do think the idea of like and like execution of a Christmas flavored action movie is pretty neat. What they did with the score was pretty cool. I'm not totally a hater. However, it doesn't give me the warm fuzzies that like The Grinch, or to jump back to your earlier example, like A Christmas Carol gives me. Those are like feel good holiday spirit movies. Die Hard is not a feel good holiday movie.
Yeah, I would kind of push back against that a little bit because, I mean, to me, at least, you know, as someone who kind of can relate to and kind of enjoys the movie on like a deep thematic level, I actually do kind of get some warm and fuzzies at the end where, you know, he finally reunites with Holly. Powell has the great moment where he finally shoots the right person. And I think Powell's a really underrated character.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I'm not going to open that can of worms because it's not really.
That's not what we're here to talk about.
Yeah, it's not really correlated to the debate, but I think that's a really feel-good moment. Obviously, him reuniting with Holly's a feel-good moment. I even think Holly punching the news reporter in the face is like a pretty funny moment that like kind of makes me chuckle because, again, like the news reporter
that guy sucks.
Like unintentionally blew up John McClane's spot, and it's like he could have very easily died because of that. And then those kids you're interviewing are not going to have a father anymore. So that kind of her punching that news reporter in the face, even though it is a bit of like a joke thing, actually kind of becomes a feel-good moment because it's almost like she's punching the like embodiment of like the thing that was trying to like strip them apart as a family. And then also kind of going off of that, Hans Gruber to me is kind of like a Grinch figure or Ebenezer Scrooge figure who just like stays an antagonist. Like in some ways, I feel like he embodies like the antithesis of the Christmas season. And I think that's actually really interesting kind of way to have an antagonist in a Christmas movie where, when he first comes in that incredible scene where he, gives his monologue about the Nakatomi's corporation's greed, and they're going to be shown a true demonstration of the use of power. In reality, he is greedy. Like he has a lot of greed. Like he wants money. Essentially, he just wants to be. He's jealous of the position that the Nakatomi corporation is in, and he wants to be in that position. But then also, he just has a blatant disregard for families and human life in general. Obviously he shoots Takagi, shoots Ellis, and he didn't have to do this, but he sent all of the hostages to the roof that he knew was going to explode. Like he was going to kill all those people for no reason. He did not have to do that. And he was going to strip all of them from their families just before Christmas. So to me, Hans Gruber, well, of course, he's like one of the greatest movie antagonists of all time. He also represents the antithesis of that kind of Christmas spirit, the kind of thematic core of that season that I was talking about earlier. And because he represents everything that opposes that, I think beating him at the end, in a lot of ways, kind of solidifies my view of this movie as a Christmas film, because it's like you're defeating greed, you're defeating the force that wants to rip families apart. So I think thematically that kind of, aids in this being a true Christmas story.
Sure. So first of all, I would like to unpack why you relate to this movie off camera. We should have a conversation about that. So I hear you when you say that Hans Gruber is like the antithesis of like the holiday spirit. Sure. I feel like the things you described apply to a lot of other things as well, but we don't have to get into that right at this moment. I think in order for it to really work as like a authentic Christmas movie, though, is that we would need a character, or like John McClane specifically, to like really fully embody the Christmas spirit as like, the counter energy in the film. And he does a great job of, kicking ass and taking names, and he like saves the day, and he's learning along the way like the value of his own family, which is great, or of his wife, which is great. But none of that really screams like I'm defeating you because of your greed and etc. It's not, he doesn't do it in the name of like the spirit of Christmas. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, though I also don't necessarily think he has to knowingly do it in like the name of Christmas for it to be a Christmas movie. To me, the values of Christmas are, as I kind of said earlier, are self-reflection, improving yourself, quality time with the ones you love. That is the latter part of what I just said is his motivation throughout the film. I'm trying to get back to the ones I love. I'm trying to save all of these innocent lives. And then the first part of what I said is something that he kind of just does throughout the film, where at a certain point he kind of stops, looks at himself and realizes, like, I pushed my wife away. I wasn't there for her to congratulate her. Instead, I kind of viewed it as like her success was like a threat to me almost. And I just think those are inherently Christmas values and themes that are integrally tied to the film. Like, yes, visually it's there. I don't really think you could argue visually it's not a Christmas movie.
Oh, sure.
And because the themes are there, and even if it doesn't necessarily give you per se the warm fuzzies that, you know, a lot of Christmas movies do, like when I watch a movie like White Christmas, I don't get the warm and fuzzies from that movie. But it doesn't mean that it's not a Christmas movie. It just maybe isn't a Christmas movie that I enjoy, you know? Or
We should unpack that later, too.
or a Christmas movie that I, you know, want to watch every year. Preference and enjoyment don't necessarily make it not a Christmas movie, you know? Because, you know, we all have our preferences. Hot take warning, think The Polar Express is a really bad movie.
An incorrect hot take.
And I don't really watch The Polar Express that often around the holiday season.
You will this year.
But it doesn't mean that it's not a Christmas movie. You know, it doesn't give me the warm fuzzies. I think it's a little weird and creepy, and Tom Hanks voices like everyone. It's kind of weird.
A movie can be weird and creepy and still be a Christmas movie. That's another video.
Exactly. Just like a movie can have guns, blood, and explosions and still be a Christmas movie. In the movie Scrooged, Bill Murray, I mean, there's guns in that movie. Does that mean Scrooged isn't a Christmas movie?
Now, that's a movie that I don't like. Based on the movie Scrooged, like, I think conceptually Scrooged in a vacuum, no, I don't really think it's not very Christmassy, but because it's directly based on a story that is, like, in my opinion, an essential Christmas tale, I can't totally disregard it. Unfortunately, to my knowledge, Die Hard is not based on a classic essential Christmas tale, so it doesn't have that going for it.
Well, I would kind of refute that by saying Die Hard itself is a classic Christmas tale. But to kind of get into that, your point a little bit more, you know, you said earlier that, you know, you can transport Die Hard to a different time of year. And as I said before, you can transport A Christmas Carol to a different time of year and it works just fine. You know, he can get visited by ghosts anytime. They can be Halloween themed ghosts. They could be Thanksgiving themed ghosts. They could be 4th of July themed ghosts.
I didn't think I was going to have to defend A Christmas Carol, so I didn't plan points in my head about this one.
Well, so I guess to pivot to a movie that you're probably more familiar with, which is actually loosely based on A Christmas Carol as well, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. It could be a town obsessed with a different holiday, and then it does, you know, wouldn't be a Christmas movie anymore. So I guess my kind of overall point is just that because it takes place at Christmas, like saying like, oh, it can take place at a different time. You can do that with a lot of Christmas movies and then they wouldn't be Christmas movies. But again, that's an alternate reality that we don't live in. It did take place at Christmas and Christmas is coded throughout the entire movie, both visually and thematically.
Okay. I'd like to bring up my third point, which is based purely on inarguable facts. This movie was originally released in July. That's it. That's the argument.
That actually might be the most popular point I've come across for people kind of trying to shoot down Die Hard as a Christmas movie. And I guess my refute to that is A Miracle on 34th Street not a Christmas movie?
When did that come out?
May.
No.
Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, the Christmas movie with David Bowie, also came out in May.
Not a Christmas movie.
So I don't necessarily think when a movie is released has to pigeonhole it, because again, like Die Hard, kind of like Nightmare Before Christmas, appeals to multiple audiences and kind of is multiple things in my opinion. You know, the fact that it is a blockbuster, you know, kind of action film doesn't make it not a Christmas movie. Because ultimately, I believe the choice to release it in July was probably made by the studio. And they probably viewed it as, you know, this is a big action film with a lot of action set pieces starring Bruce Willis. We should release this during the summer because, you know, that's when people just typically have more time to go view movies. And, you know, they viewed it, and rightfully so, because it became a massive franchise. as a film that would, really kind of set the box office on fire, which I think is more so why it got released in July. I do understand the base point, but when you kind of dig in and find that like a lot of Christmas movies, or at least a good number, weren't released during Christmas, I think the argument kind of unravels a little bit.
I just think if, the studio wanted it to be a Christmas movie, they should have released it closer to Christmas. Die Hard came out in 1990?
1988.
1988, okay. So it's been almost... How old am I? It's been almost 36 years. Maybe more than that. I didn't come here to do math. And people are still arguing over whether or not it's a Christmas movie. Means it's a little ambiguous. And if the powers that be wanted to be like, this is a Christmas movie, then it should have come out in like November or early December. But they released that bad boy in July. They also released the sequel actually came out on July 4th. And the only one of the movies in the franchise that came out even remotely close to Christmas was the last one, which came out in February of a year. And that one, none of them past the sequel take place at Christmas.
Yeah, I guess overall, like when it was released, doesn't impact it much for me because, there's kind of this theory in writing called the death of the author, where even, let's say, the director, writer, studio that released the movie all didn't view it as a Christmas movie, that doesn't mean it's not a Christmas movie. Because once you write something, it doesn't really matter what your intention was because it's actually how people interpret and view your art. So I don't necessarily think that's really a point to be like, oh, this is like definitively not a Christmas movie because of that. So the inherently society just kind of likes debating, which is why this debate gets dragged out this time of year without fail. But then also, I do think it's like a visual thing that some people just can't get over, which is like, oh, big explosion, blood, people dying, not Christmas movie. And, that's totally fine. Like, people are entitled to their opinion. And, some people are just not going to view it as a Christmas movie solely for that purpose. And there's not really anything you can do about it. I just think that I would prefer if people would just say, it's not a Christmas movie for me. Because I think when you then when you kind of have the broad statement of like, it's not a Christmas movie, that kind of forces people like me to like defend it, where, I think the more important kind of debates to have on this movie is like, is it the greatest action film of all time? Because I think there's a good argument that it is. And I would love to have that debate. But anytime I bring up the movie, it's like, oh, that's not a Christmas movie though. And it's like,
because it's not.
Like, obviously I think it clearly is a Christmas movie, but it is also a phenomenal film. It's one of the best lead performances in action film, in my opinion. Like, his one-liners go crazy. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfuckers. And then Hans Gruber, played by the late, great Alan Rickman. One of the best antagonists of all time. One of the best names in the history of fiction. Like, Hans Gruber? That is a phenomenal name.
You just know without any other context that guy is up to no good.
And then, it's directed really well. The action set pieces, specifically the big roof explosion where he jumps off with like the fire hose. Like, there is iconic things about this movie that don't even pertain to the Christmas debate that I think kind of get overlooked because of the debate. So I guess in a weird way, it's like my desire to like confirm it as a Christmas movie is almost
like to legitimize the rest of your opinions about it in like the public sphere.
Maybe not even necessarily legitimize, but like to get those into the public sphere, because I would have to like really sit down and think about what my like top 25 movies of all time are, but it's in there.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it might even be as high as top 15. This is a great movie.
This guy loves lists, so that's a high honor.
Yeah, I guess before we wrap it up, do you kind of have a closing statement, or I guess like a few final points to wrap things up on?
I do think in the process of sitting here and having this conversation, which we purposefully avoided having prior because we knew we were making a video about it, think I might have unlocked something. And if you guys never hear from me again, know that it's because the powers of B took me out. Walk with me here.
Okay.
What if Die Hard is neither a Christmas movie and a Christmas movie at the same time? Because the studios wanted us to keep arguing about it, so we keep watching it. And they get to make money. I think I'm onto a conspiracy here.
Yeah, I definitely can't refute that. I guess that's the one thing that we will agree on during this debate.
That doesn't happen often in this house.
Is that, this debate kind of prolonging and living on. It definitely gives the movie new life around this time of year for sure. But yeah, I guess to just wrap up on a final point, Bruce Willis, if you're watching this, hello, big fan. You've made some legendary work, but you are wrong. Die Hard is a Christmas film. Now, I know you may have said that in jest, but I think for the reasons I laid out in this video, I think it clearly is a Christmas film.
Hello, Mr. Willis. I'm on your side. So if you're planning on sending us any autographs, just send them to me. Thank you.
Yeah, guys, if you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please let us know in the comment section. A, who do you think won this debate? And B, is Die Hard a Christmas film? This is a series on the channel that I'm going to try to do at least 2 times a month. So if you enjoyed, there will be a playlist linked with all of my movie debates in the description. Thank you for watching, and until next time. Peace.
I'll be back. That's a threat.